All right, today we're jumping into the tokenomics of Linea, the Ethereum layer 2 from Consensus. But look, this isn't just going to be a dry breakdown of numbers and charts. No. The Linea token has a really specific mission. It's an entire economic blueprint built for one main reason: to make Ethereum stronger. So let's pull back the curtain and see how they're planning to do it.
Right out of the gate, Linea hits you with this super clever tagline. And that capitalization of ETH, that is absolutely not a mistake. It's a signal that this whole project has a purpose that goes way deeper than just launching another crypto token. It's all about a core belief in the future of the entire Ethereum ecosystem.
So, first things first, let's talk about that mission. I mean, we all know layer 2s are about making things faster and cheaper, right? Scaling. But Linea's goal is bigger than that. It's about actively reinforcing Ethereum itself.
And this phrase right here, public good, that's the key to understanding everything. This whole philosophy of channeling value back to ETH and funding stuff we can all use, that's the why behind all the tokenomics we're about to get into.
So how does that big idea actually shape the token? Well, funny enough, to really get what the Linea token is, it helps to start by understanding what it isn't.
Okay, now this comparison it's pretty fascinating. First off, Linea is not a gas token. You still pay for all your transactions in ETH, just like you would expect. Second, it's not a governance token, so you're not getting any voting rights, there's no DAO here, and third, and this is a really big one, no tokens were sold to investors or even given to the team. It's purely, and I mean purely, a tool to coordinate the network and reward people for participating. And it all boils down to this one core principle they talk about. Access is granted through use, not capital. The whole idea is that you earn the token by actually helping the network grow. It's a reward for real engagement, with the ultimate goal of plowing that value right back into the ecosystem that created it. Okay, so we've got the philosophy down, but how does that translate into the actual economics? Now we get to the how. Let's dive into the numbers, the allocation, the distribution, the blueprint. The total supply is just over 72 billion. Now, that is not a random number. It was picked very deliberately to be exactly 1,000 times the initial circulating supply of ETH. It's another one of those symbolic moves meant to show a deep mathematical connection to Ethereum right from the start. And just look at this allocation. A whopping 85% of every single token is going to the ecosystem. That's a massive statement. It means the huge majority of the network's value is being set aside for the community, the builders, and the users who actually make it a success, not for insiders. Now, if we break down that huge 85% slice, it's split into two main buckets. You've got 10% for the early contributors, that's the users and developers who were there in the beginning. The other 75%, that goes into this gigantic long-term ecosystem fund, which is the largest of its kind. This table right here, this really shows you they're playing the long game. That 10% for the early folks, it's unlocked right away at the token generation event, the TGE, as a kind of thank you. But check out the other two. That massive 75% ecosystem fund gets paid out slowly over 10 years. And the 15% for Consensus, the main company behind it all, is locked up for a full 5 years. This whole structure is built to stop short-term flipping and get everyone thinking about the long term. What this all means is that when the token finally launches, only about 22% of the total supply will actually be out there and circulating. The rest is either locked up or on that long 10-year release schedule. It's all about making sure the tokens are released gradually and in a controlled way, to encourage stability instead of pure speculation. All right, next up is one of the coolest, most innovative parts of this whole design, the economic engine. This is how they've designed it so that just using the network creates real value for both ETH and Linea.
So how does this actually work? Well, it's a pretty slick 3-step process. Step 1, you, the user, pay your gas fees on Linea using ETH. Simple enough. Now, after the network covers the cost of posting all that data to Ethereum, here's what happens to the profit. Step 2, 20% of those net fees are used to burn ETH, which helps reduce its overall supply. And then Step 3, the other 80% is used to go out, buy Linea from the open market, and then burn that, reducing its supply too. It creates this beautiful symbiotic loop. The more people use the network, the more deflationary pressure gets put on both ETH and Linea. It's a win-win.
Okay, so if the token holders don't get to vote, then who makes the big decisions? Who decides how that massive 75% ecosystem fund gets used? This is another place where Linea is taking a very different road. So instead of a DAO, Linea is setting up something called a consortium. Think of it like a council made of trusted, well-known organizations from the Ethereum world, like ENS Labs and Eigenlabs. This whole thing is even legally structured as a U.S. non-stock entity to make it more stable, and its job is to manage the fund and make those big strategic calls.
Choosing this model was a very deliberate move. They're trying to avoid all the usual problems you see with token voting, where nobody votes or a few huge holders control everything. The goal here is to have a stable, believable, and collaborative group whose one and only job is to do what's best for Linea and Ethereum in the long run. So when you zoom out and look at the whole picture, the token allocation, that dual burn engine, the governance, you see it's all one cohesive system. Every single piece is designed to serve that one main goal we started with, making Ethereum stronger.
And hey, a really quick but important disclaimer before we finish up. As of right now, the Linea token does not exist. All this information is about the plan, the intention. It's not a guarantee.
And that really leaves us with one final pretty provocative question. In a world that runs on hype, Linea is making a huge bet. A bet that a token designed for alignment, for the public good, and for long-term thinking can actually win out over models built on pure speculation. Whether this philosophy-driven approach can build something with real lasting value, well, that's going to be one of the most interesting stories to watch in this space. Thanks for tuning in.